Under the Scope.
All right, hey everybody. Another edition of Under the Scope movie review.
Deep in the heart of uptown Minneapolis.
This is the hottest neighborhood. It's got an old-fashioned Arby's roast beef sign. You're going to see it in the back.
I think that's Pharrell's hat.
It is.
Yes.
That's what it's, Pharrell's roast beef. Jared and I just finished watching a screening of our second Scope Wes Anderson movie review.
Indeed.
The first was
Moonrise Kingdom.
We saw that last summer. Well, Wes Anderson is back with a hot little film called The Grand Budapest Hotel.
It's a nice pronunciation you got there.
Thank you. Now, this film stars
everyone. Everyone's in it.
Probably 2/3 of his regular crew.
Yes.
But it is it's led by the always impeccable Ralph Fiennes, or also known as Ray Fiennes. I don't know if has he been in other?
No, I don't believe I think he's a newbie to Wes Anderson. So fittingly, he gets the lead role.
He does. He's good. So who else is in this?
Jason Schwartzman. Well, the other lead character is Tony Ravioli or something like that.
And who is it? Where are we seeing this fella?
Nowhere, I don't think. I think
he's good too.
He's good. He's a young chap. He plays the lobby boy.
Yes, he does.
Counterpart to Monsieur Gustave's concierge.
Yes. So we've got Jude Law.
Jude Law.
We've got F. Murray Abraham.
We do.
We've got a nice little cameo by Bill Murray, of course. We've got William Dafoe playing a baddie.
We've got Adrian Brody.
Another baddie. We've got Tilda Swinton.
We do.
There's
just no lane here.
fully old lady makeup lady.
That was crazy. We've got what's his name from Jurassic Park?
Jeff
Goldblum. As an executor of the estate. Goodness, I mean, we can go on and on. There's so many cameos. You've got Edward Norton as the lead military dude.
Chief Inspector Military Man.
I think that was his character name.
So the list goes on and on. Now, Jared, this is a very complicated story. It might be one of the most complicated movies we've ever had to try to explain.
It's crazy.
So I pass it over to you.
It's insane.
It's a story within a story.
There's only so much I can... Okay, yes, so it's sort of a recounting of the glory days of this high-end hotel in the fictitious company, Eastern European country, which Zimbrowski or something, or he might be a hockey player, not a country.
He's very good. Great at the power plays.
And anyway, so it's being recounted from 1985.
Yep.
I got the coppers. Which then cuts to 1968, where F. Murray Abraham's character tells us the story of how he met a Monsieur Gustave and what he's all about. Now, Gustave is how would you describe him? He tends to woo the old ladies, and he gets in their good graces, and
he runs a perfect hotel, but he bangs old ladies
and tends to profit from them.
Yeah, we don't know if he's. I mean, he seems to truly care about these ladies.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly conning them or anything, but he's just very kind to them, takes care of all their needs, and I think as a reward, he gets a little money.
Yeah.
Well, at some point, one of his favorites dies. Suspiciously. Oh my goodness, every pothole in the city
is right here. We are driving on the moon, Scope fans.
And it turns out he's suspected in the murder. And our story unfolds from there, pretty much. So,
yeah, he essentially.
Cow.
Oh, this is.
Jared! Oh God!
Sorry, man.
Oh, geez, Louise.
So he's suspected of the murder. So it's the story of him trying to clear his name.
Yep. With the help of Zero, the lobby boy.
Which we forgot to say, Jared. That's actually a story within a story within a story within a story.
It's layers of story.
It's 4 stories, and they sort of, I don't know if you noticed that. This is a nice little touch of Wes Anderson, is that the aspect ratio of the film changed depending on the year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so 1932, it was your Academy ratio, your 4:3.
High and tight.
Yep. And then other years, it was wider screen.
It's spread. So, yeah, let's talk about how this film compares to other Wes Anderson films.
It is the most Wes Anderson film of the Wes Anderson films, and I knew that going in, but it certainly didn't disappoint in that regard. If that is your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was, but also at the same time, because it was like this strange pseudo historical. I don't want to say documentary, but a historical piece.
Yeah.
It almost felt different in some ways compared to the other things that he's done. It has a lot of his trappings, a lot of his strange characters.
Yeah.
But the plot seemed, I don't know, it just seemed different.
I think.
Can you explain?
It's hard to put my finger on it, but it's definitely probably one of the most, and this is saying a lot for Wes Anderson, but one of the most absurd stories he's ever told.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just craziness heaped upon craziness. As soon as you think you have an idea of what might be going on and what might be coming next, it throws a complete curveball at you.
Sure.
And so, it's really hard to explain unless you see it. It's just not. It's not conventional, really. I mean, and that's like I said.
The thing
we're talking about Wes Anderson.
The thing about this movie that the word that pops into my head is controlled.
Okay.
It may be crazy, but I think that the tone and the trappings of the film are sort of like our main character. He's always has everything exactly where he wants it.
True enough.
It doesn't feel. It is a crazy story that does not feel crazy.
Even in the face of adversity and some sort of crazy, dangerous situation, he's mostly unflappable until he isn't. But then he usually gets it under control again. It's interesting.
And the other thing is that it's a somewhat emotional film, but yet it also that the emotional core of this film is controlled. If you compare it to other Wes Anderson films, which oftentimes are tales of the heart, this has that, but it's not. It doesn't dwell on that as much, at least in my opinion. I mean, I didn't go when I got out of thinking how it touched my soul.
Exactly.
I just was really impressed with the storytelling and how it all comes together, the difficult nature of this script.
I think if I had to use
the compelling characters.
Go ahead. Yeah, and I think if I had to use one word to describe it, it would be romantic. Not in the lovey-dovey type of romance, but in a romance for kind of a classic era gone by, an era of class and status and propriety and appreciating the finer things. Architecture and arts and fashion and everything from a bygone era that it's just a very romantic view at it. I mean, the characters are in love with it, and you can tell Wes Anderson's in love with it.
Sure. Which is strange because, I mean, you'd think a 106-year-old man would have made this film based on his love of the finer things of the early 1930s.
Indeed. This was a film where I maybe struggled a little early on getting into the vibe of it, but it's sort of, as it built and built and built, I felt myself getting drawn in more and more to the characters and to the cadences and just how detailed everything was and how everything was, like you say, controlled until it wasn't controlled. And I don't know, I was just fascinated. And then at some point there's a key event that happens and things start to rush forward at a much more furious pace.
Sure.
And I was at that point I was completely in the film and enjoying it.
I felt like once I got a handle on the Ralph Fiennes character, and that happened pretty quickly for me, I was all in and I was captivated with what was happening on the screen. Now, if you don't like Wes Anderson, I don't know if this will change your mind.
Probably
but
won't.
It is. But it, as we've said before, it's a very Wes Anderson-y film. But it feels different. It doesn't feel like it's got a different voice. He's rehashing the same old Wes Anderson vibe.
I don't feel like it has that we've got a stiff car we're gonna do with. I don't feel like it has like a hip edge or veneer to it like some of his other stuff might have. And part of that is probably just because of the era that the bulk of the film takes place in.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel that authentic.
No.
Although I feel like occasionally, like the characters, there might be some outbursts that seem to maybe out of character for that era. And a little anachronism, I think, is a nice little touch.
Sure. It's still maybe that makes it feel a little bit more like a Wes Anderson film.
Sure.
Or just maybe it brings it. I mean, let's be honest. This was essentially all fictitious. I mean, it's not like you're dealing with.
No, it's
real-ish.
It's a fake hotel in a fake city in a fake country
with a fake war.
With a fake war
that is it sort of mimics kind of events of World War II.
Yeah.
But even that's, I don't even know if the time frame is completely right on that. So.
It's a little early for some of that, but
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's sort of in between the great wars of the European continent.
My biggest complaints of this film would be the fact that a giant was sitting in front of me whose head swayed back and forth like he had no control of his neck muscles.
He's a giant baby.
That was difficult. And then the two women behind us that, or at least the one woman who laughed at everything, even though it really wasn't that funny.
Yeah, there's funny moments,
yes.
but not everything is laugh out loud funny,
Yes.
and she found it to be laugh out loud funny, and no, don't go to a screening.
I appreciated the one fine little moment in there, Jared, where William Dafoe, who is gassing up he's the evil private investigator who's killing,
What?
who is,
He's doing some stuff.
he's doing some stuff, and he's out in the middle of the snow world, and he's got big skis attached to the sides of his motorcycle. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And then, so he's at a gas station, and this redheaded kid is filling up his tank, and he goes, "What are you here for, mister? Skiing? Sledding? What was the other one?
Oh, God.
Sleigh ride?" And then right to the left of him, there was a sign that says skiing, sledding, sleigh ride. Apparently that's the only thing that happens.
I just wanted his coat because he opens up a flap and he's got both his pistol and a flask of whiskey in there.
He's got a lot of snaps on there. So every time he
Awesome.
opens up his flap, it goes.
It's good stuff.
So anyway, let's stop spoiling these fine little points and put a point on a score.
The scope score is 3.5 stars.
All right, so 3.5 stars.
Big reviews. Once again, as we said earlier, if you're not a fan of Wes Anderson, you're probably not going to enjoy this quite as much.
But here's the reality: you
Yeah.
you should be a fan of Wes Anderson.
He's a
He's a unique voice,
Yeah.
and who cares if he does his own thing, which sometimes he may fall back on some of the same devices. That's what you do. Good filmmakers do that. Or maybe they don't. I don't know. But he's a good filmmaker, and he can get away with it.
It's often been said that he sort of likes to create his worlds, as little worlds under glass, for good or for bad. I mean, I've seen that used as both a positive and a negative. But you know what? I think it's a positive.
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that he can create these fully realized, detailed worlds and these characters that are just unique from anything you really see in anyone else's film. And I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. So the Grand Budapest Hotel opens soon.
Select cities,
Select
March
cities.
14th.
And we're driving over more Moonscape.
Oh, jeez.
So make sure you check this film out, and make sure you check us out on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Check us out on the internet. Like this video. Like us. Tell your friends.
Tell your enemies.
Tell your enemies.
I know I say that all the time, but I really want your enemies
Yeah.
to know about us. Oh, God. It's a
So-
rough road, folks. Rough road.
So, Jared, let's wrap this up. Scopers, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we will be back soon with more Scope movie reviews and more Scope podcasts. Every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. The days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying arrivederci. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.